All right, we're here as the Lost Rider Podcast. Good morning and welcome to everyone to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, listening post of the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Brune. This weekend's edition is also brought to us by Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club folks who don't have a country club, and now you can also find our weekly radio programs on thelostRiderPodcast.com. So we've gotten into the social media game along with everybody else so that if you don't feel like getting up at 6:30 on Saturday morning, but you'd like to find a little bit about what's going on, here's some common sense and just know something about common sense and conservation and what's going on in Texas as well as across the United States. You can get it here. You can go to LostRiderPodcast.com. You can find out almost anything. So I'll tell you what, this morning, I know last week I did commentary. I have been off my game a little bit. Won't apologize to everybody else. Everybody out there, all of my listeners, I've been a little off my game. I had a knee replacement, and it's kind of slowed me down a little bit. It's the damnedest thing. I can get up and do a little bit, and within about an hour's time, I feel like I've done a day's work, and I have to go lay down. I'm doing everything I can to get the swelling down. I am 2 weeks off of this operation, and I'm getting around on a cane, and I'm kind of getting around fairly decently, I think, and a lot of the swelling's down, but I'm not satisfied. It's going to take me a little while till I get back up to speed, and in the meantime, I have neither the patience nor the attitude to be talking to a lot of people, as far as calling them up, doing interviews, doing all that kind of stuff. But it does give me just a little bit of time to lay around and think and try to fill in some of the blanks on some of the stuff that's been going on. And, if you're a regular listener and you know that we've been covering a lot of water issues, we've been talking about seawater desalination, we've been talking about desalinating brackish aquifers and everything that's entailed with that. We've talked to the South Texas Water Authority. We've talked to the Nueces River Authority multiple times. We've talked to the Port of Corpus Christi Authority. All these different entities that are involved with this. And then I see there's other issues around the state as far as water is concerned. And let's address this stuff with just a little bit of foresight and a little bit of knowing how some of this stuff generally turns out. For one thing, we have to look at these things and say, well, okay, follow the money. All right? Always follow the money. And municipalities take precedence over agriculture. They take precedence over wildlife. They take precedence over, a lot of things. Certainly the environment. You look at how, and you've got all these agencies out there that are struggling to, even level the playing field, constantly. They're trying to level the playing field so that, the more concrete we pour, the more stuff that gets built, that is going to in some way impact the environment. They're constantly trying to come up with regulations and different ways to keep it from hurting. Let's say this. Let's just make it a point that everyone understands. One, municipalities take precedence over pretty much everything. The other thing is that these are just regular rules that if you go to Austin, you start preaching conservation, you will have everyone's ear. Everybody's going to look at you. They're going to listen to a certain extent. And then they're going to sit there and they're going, well, municipalities are going to take precedence. And let me point out that when it comes to water, all right, the instance that I was taught ages ago when I went back, took a bunch of journalism classes, did all the stuff. The hetchy is what we were pointed out to us. Back in the days in the 1800s when San Francisco kept burning down, and it wasn't even, I don't know if it was 1800s, early 1900s, and it was the big battle between John Muir and Teddy Roosevelt. And those two guys were supposedly somewhat buddies in the conservation field. But then when it came to the Hetchy Valley, it was proposed that this valley would be dammed and it would provide water to San Francisco forevermore. And at the time, San Francisco had a bad habit of burning down. And so Roosevelt and his administration decided, this is what we have to do. Once again, municipalities took precedence. All right, John Muir's people said, no, this is a high alpine valley. You can't do this. This is at the turn of the century, between 18 and 1900s. And they went, no, you can't do this. They went, well, we have to do it for this city. And they did it. And that's the way it always is. That's the way it always is. And for my immediate listeners, all you have to do is go and drive across a river bridge right here, close to my immediate listening area here in Colorado County, Texas. Go drive across the river bridge and look at that river. And you will know that Austin takes precedence. The city of Austin takes precedent over everything from there down to the Gulf Coast. Okay? That is just all you got to do is drive across the river and look at it, and you will know that this is true. And I would have anybody argue that point otherwise. When Austin needs water, Austin has water. To the extent that the rice business that was dependent on the Colorado River no longer exists. I don't know. I can't say I don't know what happened to the Lair water rights that were bought by the LCRA, but that was Colorado River water that went to Lake Texana that wound up in Corpus. And Corpus supplies very much of the rest of South Texas. We learned that when we interviewed the South Texas Water Authority, went down to Kingsville, and they said, yeah, we buy water from Corpus. And we know that they're getting water from all the way up on the Colorado River when it's available. So they're getting water from everywhere. All right, so now just do the geography. Think about it. This water travels all over, and where there is a little bit of water, it goes to somewhere else. Okay, so do the geography. Now, one of the instances that we have always talked about here for the last 25 years on this radio has been desal, desalination, whether it's seawater or it's brackish aquifers, or what are we going to do when we've got millions of people who have moved to this state in the last, 10, 15, 20 years? We're sitting here with a population of 30 million when I can remember when it was 10, when it was less than 10. And when there was water shortages then, and they continue to build, and we find that a lot of these industries, who knew the software industry took so much water? I mean, who would have ever thought of that? But it does. All these industries, all these people that are moving to Texas, they take up an extreme amount of water. And we don't have it. So we have to look at desal. Now, take another factor into this equation. You got municipalities, you got agriculture, you got wildlife, you got the countryside. You also have had a study done since 2003 on freshwater inflow into the Gulf. Okay, Texas Gulf Coast has to have fresh water for both recreational fishing as well as commercial. So the health of the Texas Gulf Coast is imminently impacted by the amount of freshwater inflow. And they've been studying this for more than 20 years. And it's so many people depend on this. Now, let's bring up one other point to put in our basket of factors, into our playing hand, into our card deck, so that we know what kind of hand we're playing here. The other factor is we have the water process technologies today to answer these questions. All right? Forever and ever and ever. The problem with desalination was the energy costs. This is what we were told. It costs too much energy to produce desalinated water because it would be too expensive, because it takes too much energy to do it. What we're being told now is the concern for the discharge. When you desalinate it, and now you've got a supersaturated discharge, what do you do with it? All right, we have all those answers. We know what to do with it. This is not an undefined question. This is something that we have the capabilities to manage that. All right, we're going to get into more of that in just a little bit. Tell you what, let's take a quick break. Thank the folks who let us come on here, and we'll be back soon with our second half.